Hey everybody, so welcome to another community call where the first thing that we're going to do
Hmm.
today is show off our new editor moderation dashboard, which we just shipped. So Kobe will walk us through that feature.
One second. Mhm.
Kind of the background context here too is like a central place within the app for editors to have more of an overview of the content that's being shared like in their hub and over ResearchHub in general. So if there's like low quality or like kind of like spammy comments, we'll be able to aggregate them and get rid of them quicker while still giving feedback to like the people who like share those comments on why they're being removed.
Yeah. So we added this button, this flag button next to pretty much every piece of content on the site. So you can see it on a paper page, you can see it on like a comment. And basically, when you click on it, what used to happen before, it just used to like only allow you to flag for copyright. Now you can flag for a specific reason. So you can say like the reasons we've chosen so far: spam, copyright infringement, low quality, not constructive. So things like thanks, I agree, +1, plagiarism, rude or abusive. So we will, yeah, just for the sake of this demo, what I'm going to do, I'm just gonna like maybe do a test comment. So test, this will be deleted. So creating this comment, and now I'm going to flag my own comment. I'm going to say it's low quality. Now it's flagged, and basically I'm going to refresh this page because I want to show you one more thing. So if I refresh this page, you'll see there is a count next to that shield button, and basically indicating that there is an action that needs to take place. And if you click into the shield button, you'll see that that count is right next to flag content. And here you'll see that it's kind of a weird thing. I flagged my own content, but I flagged this content for low quality. And the goal is really to have this flag content dashboard always show 0 flag content, meaning that we should take an action on every piece of item that gets its way here. But anyway, so here there is two things I can do. I can either remove the content, or I can say like, actually, this content looks okay. I'm going to dismiss it. So if I remove the content, what's going to happen is this exact like modal is going to show up, and it's going to default to what the user selected. But as a moderator, as an editor, I actually have the option of actually overriding what the user selected in case it was slightly inaccurate, because we are removing the content and we want to be as accurate as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this content, and boom, it disappears. And if you want to find it, there is this filter here at the top. You can filter by basically flags that were dismissed. And you can see all the removed content here. And you can see here I removed my content, as well as like every other content that's been removed. You can also filter by hub. So in case we get like a lot of content making its way into the site, you can filter it. We can have editors like more closely monitor their hubs. Um, and that's pretty much it. There is one other thing I wanted to show real quick, which is the audit content dashboard. So it's a bit slow right now. We'll probably optimize it in the future, but basically what it shows is it's kind of like the live feed, but a little bit different. So it shows every piece of content that makes its way to the site. You can see there is a little icon indicating what the content is. So you can see uploading paper, comments, etc. And it's kind of a shortcut to monitor all the content on the site. And the cool thing is that you can actually take actions in bulk. So let's say you see like 5 different, bad things. So you can like, select 5 things, and you can click this remove icon, and then you can go ahead and give a reason. And all of the content you selected will be removed. So I'm not going to do that, obviously. And yeah, that's pretty much it. One of the things we're going to be releasing this week is a notification to the user, because it is important to let people know why we remove their content. So that's going to come this week. And whenever basically content gets removed, the author of that content will be notified with the reason of why it was removed. Yep, that's pretty much it.
This is awesome, Kobe. This is like really great. It will help a lot, like keeping the content on the platform. So right now, only editors have the access, right?
Yes,
Access.
editors, exactly. In the future, we think that if we get some power users with over a certain rep, we can give them some access to it as well. But for now, only editors.
Yeah, that makes sense. That totally makes sense. Okay.
I guess, does anybody have any thoughts or feedback just from that first initial kind of overview? I'm sure we'll be able to squash a bunch of bugs that pop up over the next week or so.
Yeah, my initial thoughts is similar to Ricardo's. It looks great. I think giving editors the flexibility where they can decide, what to remove and what not is the best initial solution to the spam at the level that it's at the moment. And I think in terms of bugs, I'm sure we can pick up on them as we go along and post them in the chat. So yeah, I think it's great.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I guess one specific question I have is for the list of things you can flag posts for. Sorry, let this person in. Does this look like a good list to you? Is there anything you would include in here? Anything you'd change? I think we based the initial framework of this from Stack Overflow, because you can flag stuff for a bunch of reasons there as well.
I guess having an other of some sort can sometimes be useful, but I guess that could come under low quality or spam and then be explained. But there's often times where something won't fit into a category, but you feel strongly that it shouldn't be up there.
So you're thinking other, and then a field that you could fill in with a character limit?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly that. And then that could go to Kobe or the dev team, and they can then get some data on the stuff that hasn't been categorized, and maybe if there needs to be another category added, then go for it.
Totally. Yeah, it's a great idea.
Makes sense.
Yeah, you could also probably group low quality and non-constructive, but I see why you're doing this. Trying to someone that receives a non-constructive is more like, hey, you should just use an upvote or downvote, while low quality is just a bad comment. So yeah, I see why you're using a different one. Well, what do we?
It's very fair. Yeah, I was thinking about that too.
What do we do with that happened a couple of times? And I think some of us editors have commented. If we got a comment that is not in English, is another language, is there kind of a way to report that?
Good question.
We should definitely add that too, because then a prompt to have the person translate it rather than just removing it because it's in a different language. I think, yeah, that's
exactly. Maybe it's good content, but I cannot really judge it. I've seen a couple probably get content Chinese that I wasn't able to understand, and I saw someone commenting hey, you should use English.
Yeah, that's a great point, Ricardo. We definitely should add that.
It's a good point.
And I also think it makes sense to add these together too, just to reduce the number of different things we could add.
Yeah, I agree. I think it makes sense.
It seems to me that low quality might refer more to something like if someone were to post a conspiracy theory or something that sort of would categorize as misinformation, but non-constructive is just those really short comments that they're just putting in for points. Is that what the difference is?
I think that's exactly what the initial intention was. Yeah.
I also think that those two can be mixed together, but in addition, also the copyright infringement and plagiarism. I mean, it's pretty much on the same lines. Like we won't be able to tell like where every comment is coming from, but if it feels like, okay, it's taken directly from the paper or one of the references, then it would be another category. And that would make the job of the editors a little easier to pick from these, rather than making it a big list.
Yeah, makes total sense. It actually makes sense to combine copyright infringement and plagiarism. Yeah, because like at the end of the day, like the exact reason matters less. In this context, I think like buckets, bigger buckets work. So I like that.
I guess the only thing to think of here is like copyright infringement feels like a misdemeanor to me. To expect everybody to understand the rules, when it comes to like what you can legally share or not, like people will make mistakes there. With plagiarism, it's like intentional and like a big no. And so just as like a anecdote here, we've been automatically suspending accounts like pretty liberally using our machine learning filter. And so some people had come to our Discord trying to be like reinstated. And some of their posting history, we actually had to run it through, or a community member did this, but they ran it through like a plagiarism detector. And so they were copying sentences from other scientific papers to put in as like analysis almost. And it was kind of hard to find. And I think it's pretty important that we like, when people do that, we have a big message that's like, hey, this is very not cool. Like you're not coming back kind of thing.
Yeah, very good point.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, one of the things we're probably going to do in the very near future, and something will be helpful for moderators, is next to each person, like every time something gets flagged basically and makes its way into the dashboard, we would put like some kind of like an offense count next to the person's like title. So you can be like maybe -7, meaning like, oh, this person has made 7 offenses. And maybe it's more likely that it's a visual cue to be like, oh, man, maybe let's remove this content. So yeah, or something to help moderators. Obviously, we're small and it's not necessary, but in the future, when we get bigger, it might be helpful.
Cool. So any other final thoughts on flagging and the editor dashboard before we move on?
Yeah, what do we have, like a cutoff? Like after 5 you're out, after 3 you're out. Like how does it work on the other side?
No, there is no count at the moment. Right now, it's all about removing flagged content, and at the moment, it doesn't ban, or like there is no banning. So I actually don't know. Do editors at the moment have the ability to ban users? Is that a thing or no?
No, I don't think so. I
No.
think, yeah, it's just like the admins and then the machine learning filter will ban people.
Yeah, so I think for now, I think it's okay. We'll keep an eye on it. But if you feel that someone should be banned and they're not automatically banned by our machine learning, let us know and we will definitely take action. And if needed in the future, obviously, we can auto ban or something.
Yeah, it's probably not needed now. I mean, it's easier to probably just like take a look at the minus kind of score.
Exactly.
Before you delete some of those options of why a comment's being flagged, I'm wondering if there are reasons why maybe they should be kept, as far as just collecting data. If you guys think
good
it might be worth
question.
keeping.
Yeah, at this point, like we didn't put a reason for keeping. Right now, what happens is you have the ability to dismiss flagged content, and when you dismiss it behind the scenes, it's kind of silly, but it works. It basically just does like a not and appends like the reason. So if you flagged it as spam and you dismiss it, so the reason behind the scenes will be not spam. That's why it was dismissed, which can work for now as an indicator of saying like this was tagged as spam, but it's actually not spam. Over time, we might need to introduce a different mechanism.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Yeah, thanks everybody for the feedback there. So the next thing that we wanted to go over was we're redesigning our paper page. And so just for context, I'll show the old paper page and then what the new redesign looks like. And we'd love to hear what everybody thinks. And then this is all Kobe's work as well. So Kobe, if you have any thoughts, feel free to take it away too. But so here's the current paper page. Everybody's familiar. And then here's the new redesign. One of the big things we did here is put a fixed width to the text, so it's a lot easier to just read everything as you scroll down. We also tried to clean up this right column a little bit and move some information directly under the actual title of the paper. Eventually, we plan to be able to pull out more metadata about posts, the journal that they're in, the license that the content is shared under, stuff like that. But yeah, curious what everybody thinks here.
Yeah, one thing I'll add is that the top section will likely change by 5%. You can see it's kind of a little off in some areas, like the metadata that is. Yeah, we wanted fixed width, and Joyce's screen is kind of low resolution, so you can't see the impact. But if you have a big monitor, it's really hard to read content on the site. Your head needs to literally move from side to side, and the text font is quite small, so you have to kind of put your head closer to the screen. So we just wanted to borrow from best practices of other sites that focus on reading and just make things nicer to read. And in addition, we also updated the homepage. And basically we try to make it so the homepage, each card in the homepage closely mimics the top section of the paper page. So yeah, maybe Joyce, you can zoom in a little bit here on
This is the right one.
that one is maybe, yeah, kind of, yeah, I think it's okay. That one is maybe not 100%, but it's there. So here you can see maybe zoom in a tiny bit, Joyce. So yeah, okay. So here we yeah, we basically here in this example you can see there is a featured post, and we may not exactly do this verbatim, but the idea is that some posts we may want to give editors and us internal team members the ability to make them sticky in different hubs and homepages for a period of time to get more visibility. So that's what it looks like. And yeah, the amount of content that was updated here in the homepage is actually quite trivial. So you won't notice a big difference. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So does anybody have any thoughts on the new kind of fixed width paper page that we're playing around with?
I think it looks really good. I really like the fact that you've added the metadata just below the title, so it's more in line with how I think journal websites look, and so then it just looks a bit more like a paper would look in those settings. I know you said that the top header bit is still under a few minor edits. I mean, one minor edit I'd suggest is just that maybe the font size of the title doesn't need to be as big with the fixed width, because if it's a title, then this one, it could go over 4 lines, which is maybe a little bit too much. I don't know what other people think.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Nathan said. Oh, sorry, Malik.
Oh, go ahead. No worries.
Yeah, just a minor question. What is the picture of the kind of the front page of the paper actually adding right now? Just showing if there's a PDF uploaded or not at the moment. This is something that I was asking myself for some time.
So it doesn't even do that. Sometimes we grab the image of the paper without actually having the PDF. So it is kind of interesting. It's basically just an aesthetic thing right now. For instance, when you share a paper on social media, it'll pull like the image of like the paper itself right here. But yeah, this is kind of like a bow on top of things. It doesn't really have like a whole lot of actual functional use.
Mhm. Mhm.
It would be nice
Yeah.
if it pulled a figure instead of a picture of text. You know, like if it showed one of the figure 1 or figure 2, it would kind of be more attention grabbing.
So
Mhm.
Kobe, this is something that I think would be very cool if we could somehow leverage like our user base to take screenshots, like upload screenshots of
Mhm.
the figures and then have those be populated here. Yeah, Jennifer's totally right, where that's like a lot cooler than having just like the front page.
Yeah, I think so. In step 1, what we want to do is get the paper page to look nicer and make it easier to read. Then in step 2, as Joyce mentioned, we want to leverage our community to help us fill in content. So that means a couple of things. So that means what Joyce said, which is like screenshot of a figure, and in addition to that, like missing content. So like based on the license of the paper, it is very possible that we could grab the actual body of the paper and just like paste it in so that people can read it on ResearchHub. And that can be cool because we can then turn on our inline commenting feature, and you can comment directly on the text print, which is kind of cool. At the moment, it's a bit difficult. The reason why we don't do it is because extracting content, we ran into a little bit of a wall. But at the very least, we should allow the community to edit it. And if you've tried to edit our papers, you notice that it's not the editing the body of the paper is not really good. There is like a text editor, it doesn't even let you like bold text or anything like that. So that will be step 2. And yeah, hopefully that'll make a big difference.
Cool. Yeah, any other thoughts on this new paper page design?
I really like the inline commenting idea that Kobe mentioned will be coming in the future.
Yeah, it's we had that shipped maybe like 6 months ago, and it is pretty cool. Like it works really well, and I think it would help to facilitate discussions. It's hard to get scientific papers into like HTML, but we're working on it. Okay, cool. So the next thing on the discussion topic is the last community call. We spent a lot of time talking about bounties for peer review. And so we were thinking about this a little bit more, and we wonder if this feature could be like kind of looked at from a more global perspective, or maybe there are lots of different bounties that people would like to create on ResearchHub, not just for peer review. Kind of the example of this that has come up a few times is Jeff asked for citations about like a specific methodology he was interested in using in his own lab. So he kind of put a custom made bounty up on like anyone who could find relevant citations for him. And so this like information request bounty is something like that's pretty common. Like, so just personal example, my dog had osteosarcoma, and so I was like thinking about like whether to do treatments or surgery or like what the options were or whatever. And there are a lot of like very recent like papers that are kind of different than what's online for blogs. And so like I spent way too much time trying to like figure it all out myself, and I could have put a bounty for like $100 for someone else to who's like maybe familiar with the literature to like share citations that are like most relevant. And so, yeah, there's potential for lots of different bounties, even bounties for like replicating studies could kind of be looked at as almost funding in like a certain light. So, yeah, curious what everybody thinks about like expanding bounties for peer review to simply bounties and having like a couple of different like categories of like transactions that can occur on ResearchHub. Edwin?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know what anybody thinks, but I've always thought of ResearchHub as just like in its ideal form, the entire scientific process can be done collaboratively And similarly, like help along that entire chain can be done. So I would say anything sort of adding to that is probably a good idea. And the only reason not to do it would be like, engineering constraints or that kind of thing. But as long as you can add that kind of feature, I think that's just going further towards what this is gonna be.
Yeah, it's a great point, and I totally agree that like long term we should basically, hopefully provide a place for like all kinds of like scientific demands to be filled. And so like the use case here, which is kind of exciting because it's coming from our community and like not coordinated with our team at all, but there are like 2 or 3 people within ResearchHub who want to write like a crowdsourced meta-analysis of how the relationship between cannabis and depression has changed in legal states after it became legal. And so it's like kind of an interesting topic where like people, across the world who are like contributing to ResearchHub are going to get together and write this meta-analysis. And so they have bounties set out in Research Coin to give to people who are going to help them with like doing the statistics to analyze like the data that they collect. And so that's like something that would make a lot of sense through our ELN if you're like writing a paper and maybe you need a microscopy expert to help like analyze this one sample that you have. And so then you could put out a bounty for someone who has like expertise in the protocol you need to come in and like become a collaborator and earn research coin for doing so. And so it's cool timing where like these like community members could actually use this feature. So we're thinking about instead of just building bounties for peer review, backing it out and having like a couple of different bounties that people can like try and like put out there and earn research coin for completing.
I feel like something similar to what ResearchGate has, where people can just like post questions that could be even like, technical questions like what material should I use if I want to do this, and that, or like what kind of process, like I had this problem with the plasma oxygen, like what do you recommend doing like this kind of things. I think would be even like potentially like really interesting because like you could put up like small bounties for people to just like seek help as you did for your research. So kind of like even practical kind of like lab experiences that can be shared with a community.
Yeah, I think the point is to make the bounty system as flexible as like reasonable now, and not think about like specific. I mean, maybe guide, but I think there's just a lot of creativity that can happen there if you just like create the framework for it, I would say.
It is funny you say that though, Ricardo, because that to me, it reminds me a lot of like Stack Overflow, where like people will be having, trouble with some code and then they'll like ask a technical question where another technical person comes in and answers it, based on their own experience. And so that's actually where Kobe got the like I think inspiration to back things out from just peer review bounties to these more like global, like all kinds of bounties, because Stack Overflow lets you do that. So they let you put like a karma bounty on come answer my technical question. And so I think that's definitely something that we could include within the first version of this. Nathan?
Yeah, so I'm absolutely down for expanding it. I think it makes a lot of sense. I also think that there'll be a lot of uptake from individuals. How do I put this? I feel like big investors would be really keen on using the feature of like, this is an area we're looking at. Can people who are interested in research and know the research help us with this? And that's what genuine, like that brings genuine value to our company. So we're willing to put up a big bounty for it. I think, as much as I would wish it, a lot of the time the peer review of a niche paper tends to have a niche crowd in a lot of cases, but when it comes to just like analyze the papers on this from a subject matter expert, I think that's got a much wider reach. Am I right in thinking that is this a feature that you're going to look to integrate into the ResearchHub website, or are we using DWork or something like that?
Nope. Yeah, this will be like just right on the website. Like you would
Has
be
to
able
be.
to click like a support button, then the bounty will pop up. How do you want to like interact with this?
Totally.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I just wanted to, sorry. I just wanted to comment on that part, like, because right now the bounties are only available on Slack or on our other Discord platform. So I think as soon as we get that, then there will be more people, because I don't know if everybody on ResearchHub knows about Slack and Discord as well, or vice versa. So
Yeah, totally. It's definitely way easier to discover. And even for new people who are just kind of like passive consumers, like it's just another value prop that'll give you a reason to sign up and maybe like get your questions answered.
Would there be a way to do it anonymously? Like, or we should just think about how you might want to be able to put an anonymous bounty and how that would work. I can see like, a hedge fund wanting to crowdsource market research or something, but not wanting people to know what kind of research they're doing, that sort of thing. So I don't know, something worth thinking about.
Yeah, totally. So anonymity is something that we've like considered a lot, but like the need for it hasn't totally popped up yet. So probably for the V1, we won't have that, but it does make sense where like, yeah, someone, even just philanthropic donations in general, people like to be
Yeah.
anonymous just to stay off of mailing lists and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So yeah, I'm thinking the way anonymity will work on ResearchHub, you'll probably have to hold some coins in your account, and it'll be like a turn on and off. Like if you hold X amount of coins, then you can, have access to the anonymity toggle. You can turn it on and off, or there'll be other rules to it. But yeah, so in theory, a funder or hedge fund, like they just have to invest their X RSC in the anonymity feature.
Yeah. Well, more incentive to hold research coin is good, right?
Totally. Yeah.
So
Yeah, there is one other thing I wanted to add, which occurred to me, I guess, like not too long ago. Initially, I was thinking, like, when you click the new button and you can upload a paper, create a post, I was thinking there's probably going to be a new option to like create a bounty. But as I was thinking about it, it might not make sense to do it this way, because if you think about it, a bounty can be associated with anything. A bounty does not need to be standalone. Like a bounty can be associated with a post, with a question, with a paper. And how Stack Overflow does it is actually kind of nice, where you have a question answer format and you can start a bounty at any point. And then they ask you, why do you want a bounty? But you don't start a bounty right from the start. You first ask your question, then you start a bounty. And I think that can be kind of interesting here. If we took the time and added like a new post type of a question, so people can ask a question, and then there is a bounty associated with a question that you can add after the fact. Same thing with a paper. You can upload a paper, and after the fact, you can start a bounty for peer review. That makes sense to me, but I'm not entirely sure that actually makes sense in the grand scheme of things. I wanted to know what others think about it, and if that even makes sense.
I like the idea of creating the context before actually posting the bounty, and then having kind of like a toggle, like add a bounty to this, so you can still post the post and then kind of like add it later. So yeah, I prefer what you said, Kobe. I think it totally makes sense to not have it as a standalone feature, but more like an add-on kind of thing on either of this kind of like sort of like new addition to the website.
and also, like, are we gonna associate this with like particular hubs, like like whatever the subject matter for which the bounty is? Like, is it like it would make sense to be like, if I don't know if it's a dermatology or cardiology like related topic, and would it be associated with that hub? Just that would allow the hubs to be like, I don't know, have a healthy competition about with each other, to have bounties and be more visible on the website.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we go down this route, and they will be associated with content within each hub. So if it's a paper, there'll be a bounty associated with it. So the hub that was associated with the paper will see the bounty, and we can surface it in the feed. So if you have like a bunch of papers showing up in the feed and some of them have a bounty open, we can have like a little tag saying like open bounty or 2 open bounties. Yeah, and I'm thinking like it can even like bounties can arise in various contexts. And if anyone has any thoughts, like you can Slack me. But I was thinking like even like imagine there is a dialogue happening in the comment section, and maybe one person is like, oh, I want to see a summary of this or something like that. And it can even start there too. It needs to start in the context. But yeah, we need to figure out like how that actually works as a product.
One thing that I will probably want to do is grouping all the bounties together, kind of like having like a bounty section. I think I had that kind of like exchange of ideas with another user on this topic. I think it makes more sense to just have it just for the hub. So within the hub, you can kind of like search for the bounties, but I don't know what kind of like added value will bring having just a bounty kind of hub, like a hub where you find all the bounties. That will just like attract people looking for, you know, because a bounty is good if people want to actually cooperate and give, you know, like good, actually like good content, provide good content and earn the bounty, but that can also be kind of like gamified. So the one way we could prevent this is making it not like hidden, but kind of like, you know, hub specific. So you should already be interested in the topic to be able to contribute to the bounty at least.
Yeah, and that's what I meant. It's actually going to be associated with different hubs. So if you go to like the biology hub, we might even add a new filter for like show me only things that have bounties or something like that. Yeah, but there won't be like a bounty specific hub.
This may not be in the V1, but something that could be cool is like when you're creating the bounty, what if I said, hey, like I want a peer review on this paper and only the top 1% of the neuroscience hub is eligible to receive this bounty or something like basically filtering by reputation for who is actually eligible to complete it. In order to kind of like make sure only certain types of users like actually got the bounty that you were putting out there.
We should definitely get reputation right before doing that.
For sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. Reputation is not good at the moment.
Yeah, I agree on the reputation. I think it totally makes sense to do it like this.
Yeah, and I think this would also bring back to what I think Patrick, you had mentioned a few calls earlier as to like, you know, this would provide like grad students and stuff like an opportunity to earn a little bit like, oh, there is this method that I need a little bit clarification about, and they are doing it in and out, and they can just write you know, a small paragraph explaining the method and, you know, earn something that would give them, I don't know, like a dinner or something or whatever. So it would kind of help monetize it for them in much quicker way.
I keep going back to smart high school students. I really think there's something there. For simple bounty stuff, I think that could be like a great, first of all, just like getting people interested. But yeah, I don't know. I just kind of want to put that idea out there that there could be stuff where like kids who are, you know, pretty bright and they're 16, 17, 18 could be a part of the community too. And there could be a lot of value there. We've done it right.
Yeah, I totally agree. I have a 14-year-old, and I think that, you know, in the next 4 years, I think that would be an wonderful opportunity for her to kind of just watch the scientific process play out in front of her. And because in the way that it is in high school, it's pretty limited. It doesn't really give you an idea of what's going to really be like. So yeah, I agree with what Edwin said.
That's a great point. Maybe during our next marketing call, we can talk about how we could kind of like get ResearchHub in front of the right eyeballs there. Because even like if you're an author and you have like a room full of students that you're coming to explain your paper to, that's a lot more compelling than a room full of other scientists who might be criticizing you. Like if we like want to bring in authors. So
yeah, totally.
education is a huge part of it. Cool. Yeah, so I guess any other thoughts on the bounties or anything like that before we move on? So the last thing that we want to chat about today is thinking about how to increase the visibility of authors on ResearchHub. This is like the use case that brought this up specifically. One of our editors submitted a paper that they authored to ResearchHub and claimed it and everything, but for whatever reason, nobody commented at all. And so she pinged our chat and was like, "Hey, like, just wanted to like help explain, like, when I shared a paper, I expected comments, and now I'm like kind of almost feeling disappointed about it." And so, like, one thing that I think the most compelling value proposition that ResearchHub has right now is like the ability to actually converse with authors and like learn about their paper. So
It's freezing.
Yeah, I lost him too.
paper
Still choppy, Patrick.
Yeah, he's hopefully you'll join right back. Fine. Oh, there he is.
You're mute.
Sorry about that. My internet cut out. I'm a little bit outside of the house at the moment. But so, yeah, essentially the idea is we want to highlight authors in a better way to help like drive conversation towards papers that have already been claimed by authors. So curious if anyone has like any thoughts on how we can do that. Yeah, Molly?
Maybe like some way of like searching papers that are either posted by authors or claimed by authors. Like on the left, we have this section about where it just shows hubs, and below that the leaderboard, and then maybe somewhere in that section, if we include, these are like author specific, or I don't know how to word it, but like claimed by authors as well as posted by authors.
So just to repeat that back, you're thinking like we could trade out one of the columns on the homepage, like the trending hubs, trending users, and replace that with like trending authors or trending like papers that have been claimed by authors.
Why do we need to replace instead of just add? I don't understand.
We could
Yeah.
add.
Either way, yeah. I mean, just on that section, I think there's even a little bit space or like somewhere there so that there will be more visibility.
I personally use the discussed feature a lot when deciding what like conversations to be a part of. So something with authors would just be another flavor that I definitely think I'd experiment with.
So Edwin, you're thinking like a filter up at the top to like be able to filter by author.
Yeah, just another one. Yeah.
I think they should just go straight to the top of trending because there's not that many of them right now. So they should just go straight to the top and maybe get highlighted a certain color so that as soon as you open the page, you see it kind of pop out at you and it draws your attention. Yeah, I agree that we should be making the experience for authors as positive as possible. So you want them to get this generation of enthusiasm on their paper. And so it should just go straight to the top. I mean, those are more important than any of the other papers that we might post that we didn't author.
Yeah, but that maybe we'll go back to the discussion of maybe fake authors. So I think to enhance also the small authors, maybe ResearchHub could improve the digital identity management in the sense that blockchain can do this in a secure and trusted way.
Yeah, I think that the identity issue is a tough one because even like making sure people are who they say they are. The spammers are pretty advanced. Like they put more thought into it. So Yeah. I know
I
there's
just wonder what the Nigerian people would be able to do if they put that much energy into other things.
Oh, I mean, it's so easy from a computer too. Just load areas to make money.
Yeah.
So I guess like I know Opscientia, they're working on like a decentralized ID for researchers. So I know it's like pretty challenging to do that, and kind of our perspective is like they're doing the heavy lifting, and if it works well, then we'll use it.
Why would decentralized ID for researchers? Why would that be different than just regular identity? I don't understand. Like what Polygon's doing with the zero knowledge proofs on their stuff.
It could be similar. I think the way that these guys are thinking of it is like you tie like your Orchid account like to like a entry on Ethereum. So that way there's some kind of like perpetual like listing that you have private keys for to prove that you're the person associated with like this Orchid ID, this Gmail account, this like ResearchGate account, stuff like that. So it's like I think it's probably pretty similar, but it's like the use case is tailored towards scientific research. But yeah, at this stage, I think it's not quite ready yet. It's still the UX is not ideal. So if people start to use that, then we'll definitely leverage it. But until then, I think we're going to kind of rely on like the manual verification. For instance, with authors, we have this like author claiming dashboard, and someone has to put an email. And basically, it's pretty easy to find out if the person is who they say they are. If there's any confusion, we actually get on a call with them, where you have to talk to somebody, and like I think that takes care of a lot of the spam. It's like a lot of work, but it's pretty effective. And so hopefully that will last us until someone else comes up with like a solid like DID for research that works well. I totally agree though, Jennifer. I think they need to be stuck up high on the homepage and like have like a big yellow outline to draw your attention to them. And even maybe even like the comment section be like nice and like, hey, come comment, talk to the author kind of thing.
Yeah, the current author badge is really tiny. It doesn't draw anyone's attention to it. It's just like this, green text. But something with a bit more pop, I think, would increase engagement with posts from authors.
By the way, I hope you told that lady who posted her paper that you would be redesigning stuff specifically to make us more engaged with authors. Did you?
Yeah, we got lucky, and she offered to hop on a call with Pat and Kobe. So we actually have to talk to Pat and Kobe, and I think doing some of the user research for like these new kind of like design features that we want to build to make it easier to surface author content.
Okay, cool.
And one more thing, I think this was also previously discussed, and I'm not always good about doing it, but is everybody, at least the editors, emailing the first author when you post that hey, by the way, we have posted your paper on ResearchHub? I do it most of the times, but not always. I haven't had any authors claim it yet, but I don't know if we should continue that at least to try and see if any authors come in.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know you're doing that. That's really cool. So have you gotten any like responses back? Like how many emails do you think you've sent out so far?
I may have sent out like a couple dozen, and unfortunately, since those are like blind emails, I haven't received any response yet. So, but yeah, I just thought maybe because you always know the email of the corresponding author from the paper, so I was just doing that every time that I remember at least. Yeah.
Yeah, we should during the next marketing call like workshop the copy, because I've done that a couple times. I normally get like I'd say a 20-ish% response rate, and it's normally because like it'll be tied to like, hey, come to this event where we want to talk about your paper, or like there's a specific question that we want you to respond to or something. But yeah, that's awesome you've been doing that. It kind of brings me to my next point that I wanted to bring up in this section. Was Kobe had the idea of reaching out to authors of like the most commented on papers on ResearchHub. So it'd basically be the exact same workflow, but the email would say, hey, lots of people are talking about your paper. Like if you want to show up and like, share your opinion or help to answer questions, like here's the link. And so there was that paper about sudden infant death syndrome that came out like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, that was like pretty interesting. And like even like the random like politics podcast I listened to was talking about like the actual research paper. And so yeah, if we had gotten the authors to show up, and I think we still can, like I can send that email. But I guess overall what I'm trying to say is, what do you all think of like once a paper has 5 comments or X comments, we automatically send an email to the corresponding author saying, hey, like people are talking about your paper at ResearchHub, you know, stop by and say hi to everyone. I would probably do it manually myself to test it and like see what copy worked and like if we could get people to show up. But yeah, what do you all think of that idea?
Thinking about
So sorry, can I say so there's a difference. I feel like if I'm a professor that's busy, I've got a few publications or whatever, and I get an email saying that people are talking about like some paper that I published. That sounds like something you could get on ResearchGate or one of these websites. Or, you know, like it wouldn't be too unusual, and it could be something that could be ignored. So I like the idea of like, okay, there's engagement, there's something like specific that has to do with your work, and that's coming across in the email that's being sent. It's not obviously just a auto-generated email because your paper is on the site. But how to make it like more specific? I don't know if this is a good idea, but something like, you know, people have requested an AMA based on a conversation on your paper. Um, I don't know that that's the answer, but like, what I'm trying to highlight is um, like coming up with a format where when they get these emails, they really feel like there's something special about their paper specifically. And so it's not being auto generated. It's like something specific about their paper and they need to pay attention to.
Very quickly, Edwin, could you suggest maybe just sending them the conversation, like the 5 comments under
Yeah,
the paper?
potentially. Yeah.
Send it to them, and already now when they're reading comments on their paper, they're like, oh wait, I need to respond to this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Edmund, I totally agree. I think that's why I actually had like a decent response rate when I was emailing authors, was because it was basically the pitch was people like your paper. We want to talk about it live. Like, do you want to talk about it live with us?
Mhm.
And then they'd say yes, and then we'd do an event.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think it makes sense to just invite everyone who has more than 5 comments, and like we'd probably actually get like 10% of people to show up or send a grad student or something. But that's still pretty good, you know, like.
Well, if we do it the way Nathan says, or we actually show them the conversation, yeah, I think that'd be pretty good. You know, maybe highlight the comments that have the most, the best, you know, feedback or whatever. I think that'd be pretty good.
Totally. So I can definitely see if we get any bites this week. Joanna?
Maybe the author will start to ask questions about property rights. I mean, some authors are not aware what research hub means. I don't know.
Are you saying for the copyright of whether they can share their papers or not?
Yeah, usually people want something when you are asking for something. So this could be an issue.
Totally. I guess like the way
And
that
I agree with what Edwin said, to be specific. Like, for example, this month, maybe Research Hub is doing an EMA about blockchains or about netting, or yeah, something like that.
yeah, totally. Yeah, I think the AMA idea is a good one, and we can like be like, here are the questions that are currently listed. Like, if you want to do an AMA, we'll like market it in our community and get like more questions and stuff. Then there's also like, I'm not sure how much scientists are thinking about it, but there's like SEO benefits. Like, if you do a YouTube, you know, video and someone searches your name later, they can like see your presentation about your paper online, and that like helps a lot professionally. So there's stuff we can
Yeah,
do to like help people on that end.
but either you are doing like a detailed presentation about what that will represent for the reputation, either we are doing like some guidelines or some, uh, I don't know, social media promotion about to be more transparent.
Yeah, we can definitely help bring eyeballs to their paper, and normally that's, I think, at the end of the day, what most people get excited about. Ricardo?
Are we targeting the first or the last author?
The
Or both?
corresponding author, whoever puts
Oh,
their
yeah,
email
the
on
email.
it. So, yeah, that's who would reach out. And then like sometimes I've had people forward me to other people. Like the corresponding author will be like the lab, like the PI, and they'll be like, "Oh, you'd rather talk to this grad student who actually wrote the paper." So yeah. Jennifer?
So one of the has two things. One thing was something about you saying that it would automatically invite or send out an email after 5 comments. The only issue I can foresee with that is if a paper gets sort of spammed and suddenly it's already 5 I agrees. And you don't want them like getting this automated email and then only to show up to their paper seeing a bunch of these like spam comments. So it might need to be a little bit more where someone gets notified that this paper has 5+ comments before, and then pulls the trigger on the email, because I can see that being a little bit of a problem. The other thing I wanted to mention was, I guess, reaching out to authors through Twitter, because there's certain scientists that are really active on Twitter and do a really good job of writing Twitter threads about their research paper, and you can tell they're like really enthusiastic to answer random questions from people and engage. So these are people who just seem already open-minded to utilizing technology to get their word out on their papers. And so I think they might be more open-minded than your average professor. And so that's another platform too we can utilize.
Yeah, totally. And shout out Jeff, who over the weekend, some people were talking about like Web3 social media or something like that. And Jeff linked a ResearchHub discussion. And I think people kind of liked it. Like there were some people who like thanked him for doing it. So yeah, I think we should tastefully spam authors for sure on Twitter if there's like a solid discussion, going on about their paper. Cool. Yeah, so we're just at about an hour now. And then also, just to Jennifer, that's a great point. Like, it shouldn't be tied to an absolute number, because you're right, it would just be 1,000,000 plus ones, and then that looks terrible if you get that in your inbox. So that's a super good point to bring up. I think I'll probably try and do it manually first to like see if there's, if people even respond positively to the cold emails. But yeah, if it works, then we'll try and like automate things to, take the workload down. Nathan?
Yeah, I just make a quick point. I support what Jennifer said, and I like the idea of reaching out on Twitter as well, because I feel like that corresponding email, when you're the corresponding author, you get loads and loads and loads of emails from stuff that even sometimes sounds quite real, about like random conferences that are happening, random journals, you name it. There's some scientific endeavor in like different fonts that you get, and it's just like a constant spam, to the point where you just get completely desensitized to it. You're just like, this is spam. So whatever it is, it just needs to look different to that. It needs to look like a real thing that someone actually sent me, rather than like something like that, if you see what I mean. And I feel like that doesn't happen on Twitter. Like if someone was to inbox me on Twitter, I feel like someone had actually read my stuff and then sent me something else on a different platform that wouldn't have been a bot. See what I mean?
We may also just want to think about it a little bit, right? Because this is big, getting authors on our platform. So, maybe, hey, let's just like sit on it for a week, see if any of us come up with a thought. That could be super useful. That could be like an agenda item next week. Hey guys, anybody thought of anything related to this kind of thing? So
Yeah, totally. And Nathan, I think you're spot on. Like a Twitter DM is probably way better than an email, especially if it's like customized and well thought out. Cool.
totally. Agreed.
All right. Well, any other last minute feedback for our team? Any other thoughts?
Hi, Jeff.
Hey, Jeff.
What's up, guys? I'm still out for a couple of days, but it's like midnight here, and I think my girlfriend, she's awake now. She was sleeping, but but yeah, you guys will see a lot more of me next week.
Cool.
So
All right, everybody. Well, on that note, we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.